Hi everyone, welcome to the channel for new battle report. So this is a new tournament that I'm participating online. It's again a team of 4. It's organized by the French community, but I was positively surprised to see that this time it's also open to non-French speaking teams. So we have some foreign team participating to the tournament, which is really cool. And overall we are a lot of contestants. I think we are over 100 people. So over 20 teams, really cool. The first round paired against an Orc and Goblin player. My list is the following, it's the same as the previous battle report, I guess. And this was my opponent's list, so he's playing 4 scoring unit, and I will come to the character later. So we have 2 cavalry, we have a big block of Goblin with a relentless banner that have spear and poison attack. Then he has a big block of feral Orcs that are head basher, that's his main block. It's also going to be the BSB. He has support unit, Great Green Idol, 2 giants that can take the weapon of other unit, which is really cool. 10 gnashes as a piece of chaff, and then we go into the character session. We have 3 cowboys, we have 1 loner on a big wyvern that has a 2-up armor save and a 3-up against fire with the Omen of Apocalypse, so very dangerous. Then we have an Orc warlord general that has 1-up rollable with a lance and roll to wound and also rod of battle. And then we have another shaman on a wyvern who is going to be an adept of shamanism. I think the weakness that I saw on the list is here the lack of ward save on both wyverns. I think make them quite sensitive to my magic and shooting. And then we have an apprentice pyromancy that also has a couple of spells. We were playing Old Ground on Encircle, so quite interesting for me because the last battle report that I posted was also against Orc and Goblin, but in a configuration where I didn't need to be in a frontal fight. This time I have to. We are playing Old Ground, so it will be a frontal fight, and it will be quite interesting to see if I can go through this army with so many bodies. Below you have the spell selection for both players. As you can see, he has a lot of spell, despite the fact that he only brings an adept and an apprentice. He has a lot of spell that he picks around with multiple bound spell. Matchup analysis. So I think overall, the choice between starting is something that I usually prefer on all the ground, but in this time you will see there is a clear side advantage between the house and the encircle. So the big center and the house that is going to be quite in the middle of a deployment zone. Choosing the side can lead to a good advantage, I think, in this battle. He has 1 big unit, meaning I can focus my range damage on single model, and then if I see... I will be testing his risk appetite with this BSB unit. I don't expect him to take huge risk with this unit because I saw it in the past. 1 range damage phase could be enough to reduce it in a way that he cannot engage anymore in close combat afterwards. So I feel it would be risky for him to play too much or too alone with the BSB. He would need multiple threats around to make the BSB unit active. That was my feeling. And if I see him taking more risk with the BSB unit, I can always range damage them a bit to make them more manageable in terms of size. Loner and Wyvern, they are not good protected. Like I said in the beginning, only a 2-up armor save. Mark for Doom, Toxic Breath, Grave Call, you name it, are going to do wounds on this type of character. So that's going to be my prime target, to reduce a bit the amount of threats that he has in his list, and then this should allow me to push forward. Estimation, I felt, we both have good argument in the matchup. He has big blocks, he has more threats than me on the table, while I have some better range damage. Obviously he has no range damage, I have better range damage. And it might take time for me to take the middle, depending on how he plays it. So that's something also I took into account. I felt the secondary is like shifting a bit, something that should be more in his favor due to the fact that he has more blocks, more threats, more bodies, more combat power. Okay, let's move on to the deployment. So my opponent wandered for side, and as I told you in the beginning, house in the middle, really far away from all the ground in the middle. So here losing the side is not something that you wish for. Then to compensate that a bit, I obviously drop for first turn, because if he could start, then he can really be in the middle and then I have no chance of winning it. So obviously I drop for first turn, I place Vassal, Lugars, I'm going to use Go Step to place them somewhere around the middle, not too far away from the middle point. Then we have here the Bastion, the second blunderbuss unit that can jump behind the wall, should be a strong position. Chaff piece, and then both flank. One flank is Incarnate plus Anointed, and the other flank will be Overlord alone. Always the combination between a non-flaming attack unit, Anointed Overlord, and a flaming unit impact unit, being Lugar or Incarnate. I felt then I cannot be really countered by the Wyvern with the Basalt Infusion that way. His counter deployment, I place the Great Green Idol in the middle. That is a good counter to the Blunderbuss, so I felt that's a decent choice. Then we have here the General Cavalry, we have the BSB unit here, we have the Feral Cavalry, the Gnasher in the middle, the unit of Rabble that was a bit too far away from the middle to my taste, and then in the flank he placed two tandem or two duo of single model Giant and the Shaman Wyvern and the big Wyvern with the other Giant on the right flank. Okay, let's see how that goes. My turn 1. So, pushing hard in the middle, marching with all unit more or less, going as close as I can to the middle ground, establishing a zone where he can charge me with the cavalry, but he has no chaff in position, and I could countercharge easily with Incarnate and Anointed. The Incarnate moves slightly back to make him a long charge, and to have the countercharge here. So it's not a charge that he can really take, and I'm behind the wall, not so far away from the middle, so that's nice. Those guys also are prepared to chaff if I need to. And the Overlord moves sideways, just covering the position that he might take with those two. Trying to slow him down on those flanks while I take some advantage in the middle, basically. Magic Phase. Take a breast weapon, going to kill 2 of the cavalry here on the left. Then Mark for Doom does 3 wounds to the Great Green Idol, which is very good news for me. And I kill another, I think a Feral this time, with the attribute of Mark for Doom. So very good magic fake to start with. His turn 1. He realized quickly that this right flank might be complicated to be won against the Overlord, so he moved back toward the middle, which isn't stupid at all. It might be a good way to support his main block. He moves a bit forward, but not too much. He placed the Feral BSB within 6 of the middle to force me to commit some scoring in the middle, so it's going to be interesting. He takes the wall, and in the middle, the Great Green Idol, only 3 wounds remaining, so he tries to protect it to my shooting, against my shooting for now. The cavalry moves a bit forward, and the rest here, it's a bit a stalemate on the left, which I'm quite happy with, to be honest, because he has an expensive cavalry, the General, the Wyvern, and the Giant against Incarnate and Anointed. So I'm quite happy that he doesn't, try to play on the numbers. I mean, he could have pushed potentially the Giant and try to start a swap of resources. Could have been interesting potentially. Or at least move, I think, heavily to the side to force me to move back, and at some point try to push in a minimized way that I cannot only charge with 1 model in base contact, stuff like that. Okay, let's move on to Magic Phase. I'm going to dispel -1 to hit on the Bastion, and then he's going to get a Chilling Roll on my Blunderbuss. Obviously he has a very good spell to reduce the damage I can do with my range damage. Let's move on to my turn 2. So I activate a chaff in the middle, and I also place the Blunderbuss Bastion within 6 of the middle, so I have 1 scoring here and the other one right here chaffing. I place myself that even with the Gnasher, if they charge out, they this unit here in the back would be chaffed by this unit here, so that's okay for me. And then we will see what he does. I'm within 12 of the BSB unit, so I can start to do damage on them with the Bastion. And this unit, I contemplated whether or not I should push hard forward, but I felt it was still too risky for me, and it would have forced me to activate a chaff on the left, and I felt it's a bit too early for that. He has so many resources, so many units that he can use also as heavy chaff, that I want to keep those vassals alive for now. And the left just move back. Here I move a bit more to the center, and the Lugars continue to push slightly forward, just to tell him, okay, here, it's a frenzy on a 7 maximize. If you fail it, end up here, and I do first the magic and shooting on you, maybe the Lugars can take that combat afterwards. So we will see. Magic Phase. I get a breast weapon, I kill 3 of the BSB unit, then I get a Grave Call off, I kill another 6, And between the Bastion, he's going to kill 4 within shooting and 1 more with the Overlord. So it's a total of 14 in a unit of 41. So that's already more than a quarter of the unit that is dead. And it comes to the size I was telling you at the beginning that is much more manageable for me, because now it's much harder for him to break me. Let's move on to his turn 2. You charge here with the Gashers into the flank. Okay. Here I move just forward on the hill to get reroll the charges, which makes sense. Moves a bit forward with his threats. Move with the big Wyvern in the middle to be ready in case I want to try a charge or something. Try to be ready to counter charge me or even charge me. Next round he has Basalt Infusion, so that's a good counter to the Lugas. And the giant push here a bit forward, so I think the smart thing is not to keep both together, so he uses the Wyvern to other purposes, while the giant is trying to keep me occupied on the right flank. Magic Phase. He gets Fireball on the cavalry, which does nothing. Then Hand of Heaven. I kill 2 Infernal Warrior on my Bastion. It was the small Hand of Heaven. Jingle Dispel and the -1 to hit on the Bastion Dispel as well. Close Combat is not going to roll that good. I'm going to kill some. And I have a check on the 5 rerollable, which I'm going to stick. That was not expected. Definitely not expected, but this allows me to be 1-0 on all the ground, because there's only 1 scoring unit and I have 2. So, okay, that's a good news, but the downside for me is he's going to get a free pivot and be able to do what he wants after that. My turn 3, and I'm going to activate things up. So I push the blunderbuss in a spot that he doesn't see me at all, move back on the left. I start to move back with the Overlord in the middle because I realize what he's trying to achieve, and I'm also getting the Overlord ready to counter-charge in the middle in case the Wyvern would try to charge the Bastion. Those guys push in a nice spot. The cavalry doesn't see me, the Wyvern doesn't see me, and I can start to shoot those feral here. Not too scared by the Great Green Idol, so I felt this is a good spot where I can shoot the cavalry here. The Bastion will continue to slim down, to trim down those head bashers. So it's going to be complicated for them after another round of range damage, and I allow myself to also push the Lugard forward, because I know that this combat is no problem at all for me, even now. So if I reduce him even more, I'm feeling totally okay, and I'm getting 1, 2, 3 scoring units within 6 of the old ground. Meaning, most likely, I should be 2-0 up after the end of the turn, which will be a good advantage. In the Magic Phase, getting a Breast Weapon, kill only 1 of the feral. Gravecold, kill only 1 of the feral as well, so not the same output at the previous round. And then the Bastion is going to deliver and kill 6 of them. And between the other unit, I'm going to kill 3 of the cavalry, so good amount of wounds. Close combat, he catches me, so he breaks me, catches me and overrun into those guys, which forces him to maximize. So at some point, it's interesting because I cannot stand and shoot, so that's something. But at the same time, you will see he's going to maximize in the middle, which doesn't allow the cavalry anymore to charge me, and allows at least the Great Green Idol to come here minimize, but still that's some Gnashers that are going to die. Okay, let's move on. His turn 3, he uses the Warcry, declares here long charge on 11 rerollable double maximize. So actually it's 11, but it's more like, I don't know, maybe a 7 or 8 swift. So not that hard, and he fails it. I don't recall if I moved them as much as I could back. I think so. If I could have moved more, I should have. I felt, yeah, 11 double maximize, rerollable. It's scary, so I was happy that he didn't make it. Maybe I should have moved more back before, but because that's the only charge that made me kind of nervous. But let's say if he makes it, he's going to kill the Incarnate. I still have a chaff available that can chaff him next round, so it's not that bad actually. Those guys can counterattack. I have more time, so I felt it's not the end of the world. I still have some answers, but it's something that I should have made a bit longer if I could. In the middle, it takes multiple charges. The BSB charge the Lugard. That was a huge surprise for me because I feel with the amount that I killed before with range damage, there is no way that the feral orcs are going to win against the Lugars. So I felt this is a kamikaze move. We have the Wyvern charge on 8 Swift Stride onto the Bastion, which stand and shoot and does 1 wound. It's going to be interesting. He's stubborn, so not affected by my combat res, but I have the Overlord in a position to countercharge. Great Green Idol goes onto here with the Gnashers that overrun last round. And Giant pushed to the flank because I'm not looking at him. I don't care too much. For me it was much more interesting to look at the middle, because this is here where the battle will be won or lost, in my opinion. And then you reform those guys ready to maybe take another charge afterwards. And the magic phase, you could have also, potentially it would have been interesting to use those guys with a relentless to maybe move to the flank or something. Could have been interesting to try to push to get into a nice position. But yeah, could have been something. Or also, I think I would have just used them to chaff the Lugars, and that's it. And still be within 6 of the middle. Maybe he can even get a chaff position where he's within 6. So I think that would have been better for him. Magic phase. He got... I Binding Scroll Awaken the Beast because I don't want the Feral Orc to be too good in combat. He gets +1 to hit on 4 dice on the Feral Orcs, and then I dispel the rest. Close combat, the Wyvern gets stuck in a challenge. He passes the stubborn check. And then I kill all Gnashers, do maybe a wound to the GGI. He does some wound to me. I reform 5 wides, and this combat here, yeah, I mean, that's the output. So as you can see, on average, I'm doing like 6 wounds more than him. So it's going to be very complicated for him to stick here. And actually I roll like 16 or something very high, and he roll only 6 wounds. That's only the Feral, but he has also the Shaman and something. So not that much. He roll in the between 4 and 5 from the Feral. So a bit lower than expected. I roll a bit higher than expected. And yeah, it was an auto break, but I think no matter what, it was not a good charge for him to take. So I run him down, end up here. At least those Goblin passes the panic check on the 6. Then my turn, I charge with the Lugars onto the cavalry that elected to flee. I catch them, turn around. Here I'm stuck against the GGI. I chaff this cavalry here because I need a bit more time. I countercharge with the Overlord onto the flank of the Wyvern, but as you can see now, the battle is won for me actually. Magic phase, let's go a bit quicker. So, Breath Weapon got dispel on the Overlord. I'm going to get a boosted Hereditary here to make him hit me on 5+. Close combat, I kill the Wyvern. I elected not to overrun because several things I felt. The Wyvern could have tried to stuck me. There was multiple concern that I had. I had to block some stuff. I think, yeah, it was the charge of the Wyvern into the Bastion that doesn't have a champion anymore. That's why I wanted the Overlord as a counter charge. Anyway, and as you can see, the GGI survives on 1 wound. So if this turn I do the last wound, it's a free pivot. And yeah, could be plenty of stuff to do. I see cavalry here next to me that charge a chaff. Could be something interesting to do. This guy here move out of line of sight. I've chosen, sorry, on purpose with the Lugars to not look at this unit here because I felt it's not a threat anymore. Should be fine to deal with them later. So that was the choice that I've made, and look also with the Overlord that way to cover this angle. In the magic phase, he gets +1 to hit on the Great Green Idol, which I don't care too much. He gets also Chilling Goal on the Bastion, and that's it. The Idol, unfortunately, I don't roll any 6s, so he's still alive. Would have been nice. He killed the chaff. My turn. I charge in the back with the Lugars. Charge in the flank with the Overlord. Overrun on a 7 Swift onto the cavalry. I felt it's an interesting one because the Overlord challenging against his general could be nice. And here I got a charge. I put the numbers. Charge on a 6, Swift Ride onto the cavalry. Very interesting for me. And I felt. So, yeah, would have been nice. That's the stat I'm going to talk about in a minute, but could have been a good way to get a combo combat with the Overlord and the Incarnate, and then there is no deal. But nevertheless, I would have been really interested just to see the combat between Incarnate full and those guys with the Incarnate on the charge. I was curious about that, and I kept those guys as a chaff piece in case I failed charge, which happened. Turn around the Bastion to shoot at the Giant. That's it. Magic phase. I got Rot Within got Dispel. I got Gravecall on the Giant, does 4 wounds. The Bastion shoots the Giant, did only 1 wound this time. I kill the Great Green Idol in close combat. He fails the panic check, flee over the giant. He's going to rally next turn. And now let's discuss about the numbers here, which are quite interesting. This is actually the stat of his general striking me. On average 2 wounds. If he does 3, that's killing a model, so it reduces a bit my output. But as you can see, if he does on average 2, and I can strike full with reroll 2 wounds from alchemy, not taking into account the fact that I can get potentially hereditary. I'm going to get hereditary or breast weapon toxic. Both are a big problem for him. Or hereditary would allow me to hit on 3+, while he only hits on 4+. So I think that would be huge, and get also reroll 2 wound at the same time. And toxic breath I think is even worse, because it's a rerollable toxic breath on a 5+. So yeah, both are horrible spell, but I didn't take that into account. And even without that, as you can see on average, I should do 6 wounds plus 2 or 3 wounds. So 9 wounds most likely. I mean, it doesn't stick that, I guess. I think it doesn't stick that. So the Incarnate alone, taking into account I get another spell, go through the cavalry. So it was a good charge to take. That was for me interesting to check. He's turn 5, yeah, rally here, charge with the giant. I pass the terror check on a 9, moves out with the wyvern, moves out with the giant. Those guys just stay where they just move back. Magic phase. I dispel +1 to hit on the giant. He got +1 resilience on the giant. Close combat. I do 4 wounds to him. He does 3 wounds to me. We both stick. My turn. Charge with the overlord into here. Move away with the block. Turn around the bastion to shoot the giant. Here I move back. Here we're stuck in combat. Magic phase. I got a mark for doom. I think got dispel here. Or maybe did only 1 wound. I think I got something that did 1 wound. And then shooting I did the last wound. Here he has a steadfast on a 6, which he sticks. And here, interestingly, he picked the hand weapon and shield. But as you can see, it's not that good. But he expected just to do 2 wounds, which is doable on average. He has like 65% chance of doing the 2 wounds. And then I have only 4 attack back to try to kill him on 3+, 2+. Which is doable, but not sure. Meaning he could have tied the combat and then saved the giant. Which is interesting, but he did only 1 wound. So I have 7 attack back. I kill the giant. His turn, he charges me. Move away here. And then he's going to kill this unit. And I'm going to run down this unit that is going to fail his steadfast this time. I think it was on a 5. He has base leadership 6, -1, 5. I think so. And that's how it ended up. So I take, a lot of things, 3,286. He takes from me the chaff, basically. I gave away Vassal Cav, I gave away Troik Anointed, and I gave away the Vassal Levies, which is 695 points, which is plus the secondary for me, obviously, which is 19-1. Post-game analysis, deployment. Not too happy to get the house and a small center, but starting and Ghost Step helped me compensating for that. I think that's very true. Orc and Goblin, I think, didn't really take advantage from the superior amount of unit. Thinking here about the flanks. I mean, he could have taken risk with those giants to force me to charge, to take initiative, and then plan counter-charge. I think that's something he could have tried to do. Once I reduced the main block, I was in control of the center. Yeah, very surprised that on his turn 2, the Vassal Levies held, but that helped me to be on the front foot, on the old ground. The turn 3 Infernal Dwarves, the blunderbuss landing in the sweet spot shouldn't have been allowed. I think I should have covered that angle, and it helped me getting grasp of old ground, and then I didn't lose it after that. Turn 3, I think a huge mistake to charge the BSB unit and the loner. Were not that good charges to take, to be honest. And the only one that was really good, he failed it, was the cavalry. I felt he should have used the Relentless on the Goblin to just chaff the Lugars. Kill some of the Lugars before he can maybe later on try to engage that combat. But not go in the combat depleted Headbasher against full Lugar. I mean, that was never going to end up well. Turn 5 Infernal Dwarves. Like I said, I would have been curious to get the Incarnate combat. I think that's the door open to the 20-0, which didn't happen, but was nice to check the odds, check the math just to see if it was worth it or not. And I think overall, like I said, Orc and Goblin can have some regrets. Maybe not bringing enough scoring unit in the middle, probably being too defensive on the flank where he outnumbered me. thinking especially about the left flank. I think the right flank, I have a very strong overlord that is not so easy for him to get rid. So it's not that easy. But at least the left flank should have pushed the giant to the side and tried to open a bit the game here to allow the cavalry to be more active. Because if you think about it, the cavalry didn't eat anything else than the chaff. So yeah, not that cool. Okay guys, thanks a lot for watching the battle report. I hope you liked it, and there are going to be some more with the same list. Take care, bye bye.